And when was the last time you gave some love? I love that song. That is my favorite song right now. Yeah, how we rotate from favorite song to favorite song. That has to be it. And funny enough, I don't know if it's funny or not, but quite often I wake up with it in my head. So, interesting, right? Don't judge me. But I find it funny because it's a great song to wake up to get me in a good flow. Like we were talking about waking up and being grateful, right? So when you wake up and you have a good song in your head, that definitely, without question, sets you up going in the right direction. And so it makes me, doesn't make you, might make you, anyways, ask yourself this. What words are you singing to yourself when you're singing your favorite song or any song that gets in your head? Are you singing along with something that is really negative? Something that is very needy? I really find more music to be needy than I do to be negative. Have you noticed that? Relying on others for love. I can't make it without you. My life is not the same if you're not in it. Blah, 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 blah. So, why do we do that? Why do we give our happiness to other people? Yeah, I know. I don't know the answer, right? We just do. We feel like our happiness is going to be in that next job, in that next relationship, in that next whatever. If I have the right house, I'm going to be so happy. If I have that next car, I'm going to be so happy. Everything's going to be great if, he loves me the way that I think that he should. That is a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on people. That's a lot of pressure on things. And it is just not going to work out because you know what? We see rich people all the time that are miserable, don't we? We see people that win the lottery and then make some really, really, really bad decisions. People do that all the time. And if they'd stop and realize that they have everything they need, they can be grateful for what they have in their life and they can make themselves happy. And quite often, one of the big challenges with that is people don't know how to be alone. And that is unfortunate. I always tell Al, when I want good advice, I talk to myself, right? I have a great time when I'm alone. And don't go thinking anything weird here. Maybe, maybe not. Hey, don't judge. But, when you're alone, that's when you can do that soul searching. That's when you can be yourself, like completely be yourself. I can be myself with Al. We've been together 21 years, but at the same time, I can be myself a little bit more when I'm by myself, right? So, accepting yourself as you are, being comfortable being by yourself. Once upon a time, there was a really big stigma. For whatever reason, it was like unheard of to go out for dinner by yourself, or unheard of to go to a show by yourself, or the theater, or to the bar. You would never do that, especially as a woman, right? Going into a bar alone, and all those stigmas have changed. And I really had an aha moment when I used to be a fine dining server. I worked in one of the hotels here in town, and we had like a regular restaurant, and then we also had a high-end dining room, and that's where I was. And it was at that time that I realized people really don't think anything of somebody who is dining alone. They really don't. And so when you're in this scenario where you are working out of town, maybe your job sends you to another city and you have to stay in a hotel for a night by yourself. Well, what are you not going to eat? Right? Of course you're going to dine alone. Maybe you're going to bring a book. These days, maybe you're going to bring a tablet and your headphones, or your headphones and your telephone, or whatever. Because, phones are like mini computers, right? But, we used to overthink that stuff. And now we have to really realize, here's a news flash. Nobody cares. Like, really, nobody cares when you go to the show. So my son, my two sons and my grandson, they went to the show on the weekend. They went for Xavier's birthday. They went and saw some superhero thing or something. Do you think they noticed anybody that was in that theater by themselves? Absolutely not. The last time you went out for dinner, did you notice anybody that was sitting in the same restaurant by themselves? No, because you were doing whatever you were doing. Or maybe you were the one that was by yourself. Do you bring a book? There's no shame in that. I would totally bring a book. Or, whatever it is that I'm into. Or people watching. That's a great activity. Boy, can you use your imagination when you're people watching. Ha ha ha. That's a fun game. So, time for the good news, my favorite part of the show, absolutely, news at noon. So, lots of good stuff going on in the world, and we need to change our focus, right? You attract what you focus on. So, if you focus on all the bad news and all the terrible things going on, then that is what you're going to attract into your life. And I see so much stuff, especially on social media, that separates us. Messages that should be, of goodwill for all people, but they're just for women. Or messages that should be, just for everybody. I've shared so many things recently where I do like a disclaimer at the top. Like, this is a great message for everybody. International Women's Day. I didn't really get into it because we should have International Human Day, right? Like, women are great, don't get me wrong, I am one, I love being a woman, but I love being different than men. I love all the things that I've accomplished and the hurdles that I've crossed and everything, but you know what, for every amazing thing I've done, I know a child that's done an amazing thing, I know a man that's done an amazing thing. It's quite often it's these things that we're using to separate ourselves instead of bringing ourselves closer together. One love, that's what it's supposed to all be about, right? Uniting each other as humans, coming together as people, doing the right thing for somebody because it's the right thing to do. Not because it's in a book, not because somebody told you to, because it's the right thing to do. Not because they're the same color as you, the same sex as you. Would you help a woman and not help a man? No, you would help somebody because they need help. Because you're a good person. I know you are. And you know how I know you are? Because you're listening to my show. Good people listen to my show, right? So, time for the good news. This is pretty cool. China will create a bastion for giant pandas 3 times the size of Yellowstone National Park to link up and encourage breeding among existing wild populations of the notoriously slow reproducing animal, state media reported on Thursday. At least 10 billion yuan, which is equivalent to $1.6 billion American, has been secured over the next 5 years for construction of the Giant Panda National Park in mountainous southwestern China for the nation's favorite creature, the China Daily reported. Plans for the park, which would cover 27,134 square kilometers, were first put forward early last year by the ruling Communist Party and the State Council, China's cabinet, the paper said. Yellowstone, established in 1972 as the first U.S. national park, spans 8,983 square kilometers. The Chinese park plans are aimed at enabling wild pandas that are currently isolated in several different areas of Sichuan, Shaanxi, and Gansu provinces to mingle and hopefully breed. Giant pandas have a notoriously low reproductive rate, a key factor, along with habitat loss, in their status as vulnerable on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List of Threatened Species. More than 80% of the world's wild pandas live in Sichuan, with the rest in Jiangsu and Gansu. The funding was secured via an agreement signed Tuesday by the Bank of China and the Provincial Department of Forestry, the paper said. The bank is to secure the financing by 2023 to go towards poverty alleviation among people living in the remote area and necessarily infrastructure and other construction for the park. I have to tell you, I really get confused about this because I think this is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But I thought China was like, everybody was all like living on top of each other. So I think, they all in China must all just live in the big cities, I guess, and then have all this open land all around. Like, that is a lot of property to give to the pandas, which is absolutely awesome. And instead of looking at the animals that are going extinct in the world, because everything is a cycle, it's great that we can help these pandas and keep them off the extinction list. So that is absolutely awesome. And talk about positive ripples. This is a great story. One stranger's selfless act of unspeakable generosity has resulted in a ripple effect of good deeds that involved at least a dozen people and saved half a dozen lives. 21-year-old Brendan Flaherty has been attached to a dialysis machine and awaiting for a kidney transplant for 6 years. When no suitable donors had been found, his friend Philip Camelli stepped up to volunteer his kidney, but, as fate dictated, he was not a match. Meanwhile, a 44-year-old woman named Kimberly Cooper just walked into the hospital one day to sign up to volunteer to give away her kidney, and the computer matched her to young Brennan. Camelli was so inspired by her eagerness to benefit a stranger that the teen decided to go ahead and donate his kidney too. But it didn't end there. The woman, who is a sudden match for his organ, Clotilde Ruiz, had a daughter who was also so moved that her mom was being saved by a stranger that she decided to offer her kidney too. This same pattern of selfless donation continued until 6 different strangers offered their kidneys to patients at Chicago's Northwestern Hospital who were in need of transplants. All had been negative matches for loved ones or friends, but were moved through compassion to help another. On Wednesday, all the people involved in the rare 12-person kidney swap met each other in one room for the first time. The hugs, the tears, and laughter filled the air. Cooper, the one who began it all, says she hopes the story will encourage more Americans to become living donors, as 100,000 people are currently on the National Kidney Waiting List in the U.S. She said she just wanted to be a good Samaritan for a day, and 6 people will feel a lifetime of gratitude for that. Isn't that awesome? And it really makes you think. When you have a family member that needs a match and you're willing to give it, why do you stop and not give it because it doesn't match that one person, right? That is absolutely awesome. So this last story, I don't know if you've ever seen this page, but if you go on Facebook and you look up Humans of New York, it's an awesome Facebook page, and they just go around New York and they talk to different humans. They just talk to different people. They'll talk to a cab driver, they'll talk to a fashion person, they'll talk to a homeless person, and they just do like a little clip or a little, sometimes they're actually a video, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're just like a little story on them, but it is an absolute fantastic page, and it's under the Arts and Humanities grouping, and they've made a series out of it. So there's a series, and it is just like so very cool because they talk about real people, and that's what it's all about. Real people, right? That's where the facts are. That's where real living is with real people. So definitely check out that page, but that is where the story is stemmed from. This is awesome. Brandon Stanton, the mastermind and photographer behind the Humans of New York series, has made a GoFundMe history by raising over $1 million for Rohingya refugees in just 4 days. The money will be used to build housing for the thousands of refugees crossing into Bangladesh from Myanmar. According to Stanton's GoFundMe page, each house will cost roughly $630,000, or $630, to build, and can hold a family of 6. Wow, for $630 US, that's pretty good. The houses will be assigned to the most vulnerable families based on their status with the United Nations High Commissioners of Refugees. The houses we are helping to build are special. They are made of bamboo. They have 2 bedrooms, which will allow a small degree of privacy and dignity for large families. They have a kitchen area. These things sound simple, but under the current conditions, they represent a huge leap in comfort and security. Stanton created the fundraiser in partnership with Love Army, a collaborative charity organization made up of YouTube creators, actors, and celebrities. The group was created in March 2017 by social media star Jerome Jar as a means of raising money for the Somalian famine. Oh my gosh, I need to get hooked on phonics today. They have also raised $9 million for the heroes of the Las Vegas shooting. Since creating the organization, Jar has quietly spent the last several months on the ground in Bangladesh, helping with the refugee crisis. GoFundMe says that the campaign has also become one of the fastest campaigns to raise $1 million in the company's history. Love Army has partnered with the American Refugee Committee and local NGOs such as OBAD Helpers to make sure that every dollar is spent in the most effective way. The houses are being built by refugees themselves, so even the labor costs are funneled back into the community. All of the Love Army's overhead costs are covered through privately sourced funds, which means 100% of your donations will go directly to the construction of houses. That is so awesome. It really is. So there's so many things that are so cool about that. One, you know that the money is going where you need it to go. You know, we all question these days, and we know about organized charities. We know quite often it's such a small percent that goes to the end user. So this is absolutely fantastic. And the other thing is too, is these people are getting involved in the reconstruction of their homes. The people are getting involved. They're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel like they have control. And they're building communities. You know, when you have this many displaced people in the world, and they're all being shuffled to Germany, to England, to Canada, to the States, it's a mess. It really is. You know, it's a mess because they're trying to integrate and maybe they don't want to integrate. Some people are trying to accept and the change and the different, and they're not all together, and they have their own way of living that is not the norm for us, and they're used to different laws and, you know, conforming and stuff. And so, you know, if they can turn around, and that's probably, it would not surprise me if that is not part of why this went so well, why they raise money so fast, because these people need help, but they need to establish the communities again. They need to, you know, feel involved. They need to not feel like they're at the whim of people that just don't really care making decisions for them. You know, they can get involved. It's like the Habitat for Humanity. You know, when those people are getting involved and they're putting in the hours, because that's the way it works. You get on the list, and then you have to put in so many hours towards building other people's homes. It's that old barn raising Mennonite mentality. You know, it's so awesome because you're involved and you're out and you're doing stuff and you're making decisions, and it's community. And like, have you ever seen I lived in Kitchener for a little while, and there was Mennonites there, and you know, when they had a barn building day or a house building day or whatever, and you know, people talk about women and equal right and all this stuff, the women made the food and it was fine. I don't know why we can't appreciate that. You know, it's okay to cook for our families, and it's okay to be the one that organizes the house. Like, how did that end up being a bad thing? I just don't know. But when you look at these communities, they, you know, the barn burned down, or the family, the two families, their kids have got married, and so they're building them a house, so they make it a one-day event, and everybody gets together, and they bring all the supplies together, and they start when the sun comes up, and they go till the sun goes down, and everybody participates. Everybody, the young, the old, they're not, you know, bubble wrapping their kids, they're not scared of a little bit of hard work and being accountable, and they're involved and they feel good, and they walk away, and that new young couple, they have a fresh beginning, and they had some choices. They got to make some decisions. It is really heartwarming. That is the good stuff that we really need to bring back. You know, we've got so sidetracked with working so hard and keeping up with the Joneses and all this other stuff. We just need to get back to the basics. So that, my friends, is the good news for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy it.